you want to have a
And
listen.
we're joined now by Tim Stimpson, who has written this most momentous of weeks. Morning. I don't know whether to talk to you or mug you for a script because
Are you sworn to secrecy?
Absolutely.
Are you?
Absolutely.
Within the script writer's room, you're not allowed to go out and share with anybody what you're writing?
No, it all has to stay in there, and when I knew I was coming on, here I got barraged.
A witch's coven.
So,
Don't say anything.
what we can talk about is the storyline up until this point.
Yeah.
So, for anyone who isn't a fan of the programme, what's this about?
It's about Rob arrived in the village about 3 years ago and met Helen Archer, as she was then, who's a long-standing character and had various problems, and she thought she'd discovered kind of the love of her life and was swept off her feet. And then very slowly, incrementally, Rob has become more controlling and taken over every aspect of her life, taken on her little boy, Henry. They got married, which she kind of sprung on her. Helen's had a baby, who she's now having to look after in jail. After it all culminated and Helen had decided that she wanted to leave, told Rob that she was going to leave, at which point they had a furious row, and Helen ended up stabbing Rob.
And it's called this, where one partner bullies the other into submission, effectively, coercive control.
Yeah.
And it's important because it was legislated on a year ago, which is why this story goes beyond the boundaries of the Archers. I think it's grasped the interest of a lot of people, this, isn't it? Is that where it came from, when the government was legislating?
No, this started about 3 years ago. I mean, I invented the character of Rob probably 5 years ago now. And
You invented Rob?
But he wasn't going to be quite the monster that he was. He was meant to be this domineering, old-school kind of character who Helen's family wouldn't like. And then when Sean O'Connor took over the show, he gave me a call. I think it was the first conversation we had, and said, let's take this further.
So what about it? When you first imagined him, what was he to you? Was he just kind of a bit of a fuddy-duddy and a pain?
I thought he'd be someone who would appeal to Helen. She's been through a lot of problems. She's had anorexia, mental health problems. She had her child by a sperm donor on her own, which a lot of people thought was a bit, didn't approve of, even her father. And I thought, actually, a character who came in and decided, who said, I can look after you, I can take all the stress off your shoulders, just hand control over to me, would really appeal to her.
So the pressure of writing this week for you must have been huge, because this is a crunch week, isn't it, now?
It is, yeah. It's, I think the biggest challenge was getting the legal stuff right, because actually you have all these ideas in your head about what courtroom dramas are like, and as much as you try not to follow those, you kind of hear all that stuff in your head. And actually British courts are a lot more kind of sedate and controlled and not as confrontational as maybe American courts. It's not as adversarial. So getting the legal stuff right whilst keeping the drama up.
My wife listens. I don't listen as avidly as my wife does. But I just wondered, is this something... I get the impression this is something you can do very, very rarely with the Archers. Because I know you've had this criticism that in some way you're turning it into EastEnders with this plot that's not very Archers at all.
I think the big dramatic storylines, we always think very carefully about where we position them, and there's always other stuff going on with the Archers that's like, there's always the flower and produce sale and the Grundys having fun. Yeah, so we had to think very carefully about doing it. But I think the story has been really well suited to radio, actually, because it's not about physical violence. It's all about how one can have their life taken, just with a few words or a tone of the voice. I mean, our fantastic actors, Tim Watson and
Over
Louisa.
a slow period of time.
Over a slow period,
time, yeah.
drip, 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 12.5 minutes every evening. It's really suited the radio format perfectly.
Tim, stay right there. We're not going to let you go.
OK.
Yeah, she's going to plug you for it.
Yeah, exactly. As we heard, the trial starts tonight, 7 o'clock on Radio 4. It concludes on Friday.
Yes, while Sally puts an arm lock on Tim, we will get the weather with Darren.